Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at The Hustler, which is the most recent book I read after American Psycho, which was interesting. If you want my thoughts on that, check out the video. But yeah, we're looking at The Hustler. This is by Walter Tevis, who you might be more familiar from the Netflix show, The Queen's Gambit. So he actually wrote a book called The Queen's Gambit, which was turned into that show on Netflix, which I thought was pretty good. Although I thought it was real. I thought it was a real true story. I was quite disappointed when I found out actually it never happened. So I don't know if Walter Tevis is a bit of a hustler, especially with maybe his research. I don't know if the chess in that show was even accurate. And again, in The Hustler, which is about pool, I have no idea if what he's telling me about pool and how to play pool is actually correct. However, it is a good read. It is a very, see that there? Swift read. It's very short. It is, look at that, like 207 pages. So this is one you could probably just read on holiday if you wanted to. Now, this is a book about a guy called Eddie Felsen. I think it's Eddie Felsen. Eddie Felsen, who is a pool hustler. So he goes around playing pool with people, making money, basically. He gets them to kind of keep playing, thinking he's shit playing, and then once the bet's high enough, he cleans up. Eddie wants to be the best there is at pool. So he travels to, I think it's Chicago, to challenge a guy called Minnesota Fats. And he eventually gets to play him, and he is actually beating him. You know, Eddie is actually a really good player, and he's completely beating Minnesota Fats. I think he's up to like 18 grand or something like that. Bear in mind, 18 grand back then is worth way more, so it's big money. But he gets drunk and then continues to overplay. He should kind of tap out, and he doesn't. And Minnesota comes back and absolutely rinses him. And after which, he's got nothing. He's been thoroughly beaten. And he meets this guy called Bert, who's this professional gambler who seems to know everyone. And he says that Eddie lost because he is a loser and doesn't have the character to win. So it's like subconsciously he wanted to lose, so he lost. Now Eddie, after that, kind of bumbles about a bit before he takes up an offer from Bert to go and play this rich guy in his mansion for whatever reason. You find out the reason why he ends up playing this guy and what it does to, let's say, get him to be the best. So I won't spoil that. But yeah, it's basically that. It's just a guy who gets his ass beaten and then has to learn how to not lose. In the midst of that, there is a relationship with this young college girl called Sarah. I think she has polio and she's a bit of a quirky weirdo, but quite an interesting character. I think their relationship is very toxic and weird, but also very interesting because I've never really read such a bizarre relationship before. But it's good. You know, it is good. I like the uniqueness of it. I really like the dialogue. This is another book with really good dialogue. It's, it's pacey, it moves, and yeah, you don't get too bored with it. And it's kind of a problem with that in the sense that, yeah, you don't get kind of caught up in the doldrums of what is going on in Eddie's mind, his past. You don't deep dive into those things. It kind of moves very quickly, gets you to where it needs to be, gets to the conclusion. Well, kind of conclusion. It's a bit of a weird kind of cliffhanger, stalemate thing, you'll see. But on the other hand, it doesn't dive into all these deeper things. So the book is kind of a little bit hollow. It's almost like it hustles us of the detail. He only reveals what we need to know for the purposes of this. He moves from bar to the bar, hustling people, and here he's moving from reader to reader. It is a little bit dated, but what isn't nowadays, But it is a good book, and it's very detailed. Like, what I love about the author is he's so good at description, especially when it comes to playing pool, which, apart from doing when I'm drinking, I never really had any interest in terms of whether it was a legitimate sport or was really that much skill to it. And this does make it kind of flashy in the same way that Queen's Gambit tried to make chess flashy. So it's very similar. So I'm presuming if you read the Queen's Gambit or even seen it, then and you liked it, then you're going to like The Hustler because it does exactly the same thing. Walter Tevis takes a concept, makes it flashy, makes it quick, makes it punchy. Probably isn't as accurate as it needs to be, but for the purposes of the audience, it's satisfying. So it's a pretty decent book. I don't think it's the best book I've ever read, but it's definitely a good read. I don't think it gives you like any special motivation to be the best. Like some people say you should read it because it'll change your life. You'll improve yourself as a man and as a person. Da, da, da. No, I don't think so. It's just a book. But it is a good book. So I definitely recommend reading it. And if I was going to give it a score out of 5, give it 4 out of 5. Definitely worth a read.